Thank you for joining us. My name is Renee Barros, and I'm one of the Community Engagement Directors here at Shatterproof. Have you heard about the Stronger Than Addiction Challenge? Well, if you haven't, we are challenging everyone to choose an action to show how they are stronger than addiction, and then join us on September 26th as we come together as a community to celebrate our success. Joining the challenge and here with me today to talk more about it is recording artist and PhD student Nicky Bondz. Here's a clip of his latest video.
Lifestyle had to change up. Before I started making moves, it was dangerous. I thought about so many people who were haters. Now I got my name up. People wanna wake up. There were days that I gave up, but them days got made up. For a situation that'll pay up. Got a bowl on them, watch me lay up. When I make a don't ask for a pay cut. Don't ask. It's true love. I'm true love.
Nicky, welcome.
Welcome, greetings. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Doing pretty well. Just hope you had a great holiday weekend.
I did. We're so happy that you could join us. So
Absolutely.
diving right in, you're killing it in the music industry as well as in the classroom. Taking a glance at
sweet
your
of you.
life, it would appear that you have it all together. Was this always the case? Take us back.
I don't know if anybody will ever have it all together, right? That would be called perfect, and I don't know if anybody's perfect. I think we're always a work in progress as human beings. But yeah, it was. I had an interesting road. Started probably using at around 14, kind of high school era, ninth grade, and typical fit in type situation, and it manifests into its own animal, if you will, and it took on a nature of its own, and people don't understand kind of the depression and anxiety that comes along, using long term, and how that kind of just creates a snowball effect for the use to continue. And basically, yeah, the marijuana turned into opiates, and things got real tough, and it was a tough struggle for a while. So I'm happy I was able to turn it around. Just had to change my complete thought process in general. And it was a real paradigm shift in how and my thought process. That's what I really worked on, that kind of helped change and foster my life in a more productive direction instead of a maladaptive direction, right?
Got it. So how was it that you found the path to recovery?
Yeah, I mean, everybody's path is different. Everybody has their own life experience. But for me, it's a cliche AA saying, but it's so true. When you're sick and tired of being sick and tired, and I was literally sick and tired. I was with dope sick every day, and it was just got old, and it was painful. It was pain. It was very painful, and that on top of a lot of people around me passing away that was in that circle, was a real wake up call. It wasn't fun anymore. And that's kind of the message I kind of want to get across to some people, is that it might seem fun in the beginning, but things can get real serious real fast.
You've lost a lot of friends and family members to addiction, right?
Yep.
And,
Yeah, I have.
and you got to a point to where I remember talking with you earlier, and you said, I just knew that I was next. Can you talk a little bit more about that and what caused you to enter into a treatment program?
Absolutely. Yeah, when you're using with people, and you've known people for, at that time, 15 years, grew up with these people, come from good families, good homes, well-rounded families. And when I knew, to be real with you, I was going harder than these people at the time. I was going
Yeah.
a lot harder than most of them,
Yeah.
and they died.
Hmm.
So I was like, okay, like if they can go that quick, it's like if I don't get my act together, I'm without a doubt on my way to that part, to that side. And it's like after, 6 overdoses,
Hmm.
um, and thank God for Narcan, because it wasn't for Narcan, I would not be alive right now. Um, yeah, that was really the wake up call. And then when my dad passed away, um, with it was a combination of mental health issues combined with, um, it's co-occurring substance use disorder with depression. And, that was really sad for me, to just have that happen. I was very close to him. He was like my best friend. And to see, someone that, it's not just like a friend when it's your blood and it's in your intermediate family, it kind of hits you a different way.
Hmm.
um and
Especially when it's your father, right? I mean,
yeah,
that's your role model for life. Speaking of
yeah,
your dad, a lot of people are born into really tough circumstances that kind of lead them down the road of substance use disorder. Um, do you feel like you've broken the cycle? I'm not sure if you're a family man or plan on having kids or anything like that, but do you feel like at this point in your life, like, I've broken the cycle?
yeah. I think, it's, like I say, it's a day at a time for everybody. But I think I just learned through my life experiences, the things that um I could help people with, the things I could offer. But at the same time, I think just because of, my degrees in psychology and everything like that, I think, um, I'm gonna kind of raise my children in a curtailed fashion and kind of, um, in an authoritative way, not authoritarian, authoritative, little different. But I think that, that is parenting with high responsiveness, right? But
Hmm.
also setting high goals for your kids, right? So it's okay, we want you to be in the honor roll every semester, but how can I help you get on the honor roll? Do you need extra help? Do you need me to help you study? Do you need me to make quiz cards for you? What can I do to help you reach that goal? Or do you want to make the football team this year? Do you need me to get you a personal trainer? Do you need me to get you private lessons to work to get your feet work better? Like, what, as a parent, what can I do to make you fulfill the goal that you want to do? Right.
Hmm.
So, um, I think that's kind of, you know, they've seen through longitudinal studies that kind of the best parenting style for right now, has the least, um, occurring rate of anxiety and substance use disorders when utilized appropriately. So I'm planning on breaking it, if that answers your question.
Yes, that's great.
Yes, I plan on breaking it. I hope to God it doesn't go to my kids, but I will try my best.
Well, and if it did, you would be leaps and bounds ahead of
Uh,
most
yeah,
parents in
I think I'd
understanding.
be yeah, I'd be well equipped, right?
Yeah, that's that's the blessing in stuff like this. At the very least, you're able to help other people, right? Um,
Absolutely.
so let's talk about pain. How we deal with pain as a society, both physically and mentally. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. Um,
I go to
I
the
think,
doctor, my back hurts. The first
yeah,
thing they say is, "Can I offer you a pain reliever?"
right, right. I think, and that's Western medicine for you. You know, that's the kind of Western philosophy that we have here in America, because it's unfortunately ran by trillion-dollar pharmaceutical companies. Um, and that there's a machine behind this,
Mhm.
and a lot of people know it now. um but I think that we have to kind of go back to a more holistic approach on how to deal with pain and not jumping to an opiate first shot out the gate. Kind of stress all your options before really going that route. Whether it's any procedure that you can get done, any type of holistic pain management, going to a wellness center, if getting massages or anything, if it's a physical injury, going to physical therapy, working on that body part. But if it's to the point, don't get me wrong, there's people and that do need it. There's people that,
Sure.
I mean, that can't walk, get up and walk. I mean, when you have lower back injuries and spinal injuries, you know, that's a different story. Or if you have cancer, I mean, that's a whole different ball game, you know. But you know, if you're a regular person and you're aching, and you're, you know, kind of feeling banged up, you kind of have to use try to do the holistic route. And that's kind of what's kept me going, is going to the chiropractor, getting massage therapy at least once a week, you know. And it makes a big difference. It's also a stress reliever, you know,
Sure.
gets the endorphins flowing, you know. And going to the gym has been huge for me too. That is really helped. I mean, and there's been I think a couple of meta-analysis about physical exercise and how it helps, obviously release your endorphins, but also boost your dopamine and serotonin levels as well. And you know, people in the beginning of recovery, not a lot of parents or family members understand, if they've never been through it, that the body is trying to go back to homeostasis, right? So when you're using for 5 years, right? Say you're using downers, you're using benzos or opiates, right? So all of a sudden you're using for 5 years, you're inhibiting yourself, right? So you're like this, inhibiting, and your excitatory is low, right? So inhibiting, excitatory, right? All of a sudden you go into withdrawals and this happens because your body's trying to level out, right? Homeostasis. So from inhibitory, you go to excitatory. And that's why people, you know, coming off of Xanax go in and have seizures, and people withdrawing from opiates are throwing up and can't stop going to the bathroom, and they're shaking and they're sweating and they're crying every 10 minutes. And it's the body is trying to readjust itself. And sometimes it needs a little bit of help, you know? And yeah, I can get really deep into the science part of it, but I don't. I'm
Well,
not
it's
gonna try.
interesting. So, as I understand it, you're a couple credits short of a PhD in mental health. Can you talk more about what brought you to Atlanta,
Yeah,
and why you've gone down this road of the
yeah.
PhD program?
You know, my real dream, my real goal, is to open up wellness centers and just help people. I really, really, really would like to open up kind of like a one-stop shop situation, but multiple, you know, throughout wherever I am, and or multiple throughout the country would be phenomenal. But I really want to have a location where people can go for pretty much all the things I just mentioned.
So, talk to us more about this PhD program and how did you end up getting into that?
Yeah. So what happened was, I, in the midst of my addiction, actually, you know, I think I was 21. I actually, I ended up changing my major to psychology, and it was history and law before that. And then when I was a junior, I was like going through this, and I think my dad just passed away, and I was just like, I want to find out what's wrong with me.
Mhm.
So it's like, maybe these textbooks will help, you know, and
Yeah,
these professors, you know. And I was just curious. Like, there's just something about psychology that just, the brain is just infinite with,
fascinating,
not.
right?
It's just so, yeah. It's just, I need to be like stimulated at a high level for me to like really pay attention to something. So yeah, so basically that happened. Got the bachelor's in psychology, and then all those kind of negative things happened in my life, and started to clean up my act right after my bachelor's, and then went and got my master's degree in psychology. And then the PhD program was tough to get into. You don't realize the competition until you really, you know, you're applying and you're going to these interviews, and it was tough, and it took me about 2 years to get into a program, and competition was fierce. And this was like 2016, 17, and thankfully I got into school down here in Atlanta. And yeah, I am 6 credits away. So, and then I write the dissertation, and then should be ready to rock and roll.
Congrats on that. Many people don't believe that addiction is a disease. I'm sure you've learned a thing or two in life, not only in life, but in the classroom.
Yeah.
Can you help break addiction down in a way that people can understand it?
Yeah, absolutely. Um, so the disease model is correct in some aspects, but the disease model only pretty much emphasizes genetics, right? People have to understand though that we do have these genetic precursors, right, that are passed down to us. But I believe in the biosocial model. So we do have these genetic predispositions, right? So for example, and plain terms, if you have addiction running in your family, you do have it in your genes, right? But it depends on the environment that you grow up in that will trigger those genes. And that's how addiction really works. That's the real science. It's based off the diathesis stress model. And like I said, that combination of the genetic precursors, right? And if you're thrown into a high stress environment, low income situation, or you're in a very urban poverty city, and you have to deal with, and you don't know when you're getting your next meal, you don't know if you're getting jumped walking home, you don't know what's going on, that stress is going to shoot up, and you're most likely not going to deal with it in a positive adaptive way. It'll probably be maladaptive, because usually in that situation those people don't have great resources they usually don't know where to go find good counseling, or they don't have the money to get good counseling. So I think it's genetics combined with environment together that creates the storm.
Totally. Let's talk about the things that you do to stay in long-term recovery. I would imagine working on the PhD has helped you to understand yourself and how the brain works and kind of the psychology of it. But let's talk about the work you do in the gym. I know you're really big into lifting weights, stuff like that. Talk about how that helps with the stress.
Yeah, like I said, it's been one of the saving graces for me, for sure. When you start to feel good about yourself and how you look, I don't want to put too much emphasis on that either, though, but it's not just an external thing. Like I was saying, when you're working out, there is proven longitudinal studies, look it up if you don't believe me, about the benefits of physical exercise and how it's going to help reduce stress, reduce anxiety, help with sleeping, reduce insomnia, right? All these things that cause people to use, at least they did for me, um, the physical exercise helps do that naturally for you. And it's helped me with sleep. I mean, it's the list goes on. And then also the benefits of liking how you look is also not a bad, not a bad, not a bad side benefit either, besides all the internal things that go on chemically. I think it's a great combination, because when you start to feel good about yourself, you start to have higher aspirations for yourself. And when you start to set goals for yourself, that's where real change happens.
Mm-hmm.
And first comes the self-insight and self-awareness, though, right? You have to be aware of the issue, accept the issue, right? And because if you don't have this self-insight or self-awareness, you can't change something that you don't know exists, right? Or you won't accept exists, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's step one for me. And then step two, is getting into action, and it's finding things that you love and going back to things that you used to love before you were in active addiction, and trying to spark some of those hobbies again and some of those interests. And you know, for me, that was music. That was going to the gym. You know, I got 2 dogs now. You know, I just try to stay as busy as I can. You know, obviously, music there's a lot of composition that goes along with it. Um, making the instrumentals, writing the song, engineering, audio engineering, the sound recording production. It is a full on task. So you
Hmm.
know, the music by itself keeps me plenty of busy. Um, Combined with the PhD program, and then trying to stay in shape, and like you said early, staying on top of that self care, I think is crucial. And I think that's, you know, another message I want to get out there for people that are in recovery. You got to put yourself first. You got to put your self care first. Um, and that's really, really important. Even for professionals that aren't in recovery, self-care is still huge. You know, people or professionals these days are under a lot of stress, especially right now during COVID. You know, financially, it's tough.
Absolutely. You touched on it, whether it's anxiety, depression, insomnia, all of those are just best practices for life in general, like whether you
Yeah,
suffer with a substance use disorder or not, right? So talk to
absolutely.
me a little bit more about this music career of yours. I understand that that wasn't the initial goal moving to Atlanta, but tell me more about
Yeah.
how that came to fruition.
Oh, yeah. I mean, like I said, I think I was missing that artistic creative hobby.
Well, and
Um,
first I should say you grew up on the streets of New York, right?
yeah, grew up in
So,
Long Island, New York. Yeah, I mean, I was just a big music person growing up. Um, you know, thanks to my dad. I mean, you know, growing up in the '90s, it was house music, rhythm of the night, show me love. You know what I mean? And then late '90s, you had Eminem and Jay-Z and Biggie, and you know, it was music was different back then. You know, it was I think for me it was a little more wholesome. um, and I just fell in love with it. And you know, I was the kid in like 6th grade that would like bring in a stack of like burnt CDs, and I would think I was the man and like hand them out, you know. And I was like a little DJ in like middle school, but yeah, you know, I always loved it. I loved putting together mixtapes when I was little. That was like my thing. We would like, I would get my buddies. We'd go home and we'd go and download music, and we'd be like, you know, we almost have like a competition who could make like the better mixtape for the week, right? So yeah, I mean, it was always in me. And then in high school, actually, because I originally thought that athletics was really where my life was going to end up. And you know, obviously, it didn't end up that way. So I didn't start working on music as soon as I would have liked to, if that makes any sense. I should have, I started making music in high school, but I didn't take it as seriously as I should have because I was so entrenched and trying and getting a D1 scholarship and getting drafted, right? So I thought sports was my ticket out, was the meal ticket for me to be successful and get a lot of money, you know, all that stuff that people want in life. Um, and then when that didn't happen, and then the addiction happened, and it kind of pushed me back 5 years, and then I had to kind of race back to catch up. Like I feel like I had to catch up to people, right? Because I lost out on 5 years of my life, literally just sitting in a bedroom getting high. But
yeah.
you know, it was tough, but um, yeah, I think that um, people just need to learn that whatever it is in life that you enjoy, you got to really, really hone in on it and just be real with yourself too. If there are things that only you like and your husband or spouse or wife doesn't like it, then do it by yourself. Go and enjoy it. You know, if you like going to the gun range, and go to the gun range by yourself. If you like going in the spa and getting your eyebrows done in a facial, and your husband doesn't want to go with you, go by yourself. Like you have to, like with addiction, you have to put yourself first, because if you do not, it will come back and it'll probably beat you. You
Hmm.
know, and I know that's very dark and AA-ish, but you know, it's true because I've been through it 100 times. You know, my first So for example, just so everybody knows, started to try to get clean 2010. I
Hmm.
didn't get clean till like 2015.
Okay.
So that was 5 years of relapsing and rehabs. So I've tried everything.
I'm glad you're so open about that and
Like
willing to
literally
share,
everything.
because a lot of people like uh, recovery is a journey, right? You don't always get it on the first
Yeah.
try. And I love that you're an example of someone that it took 5 years to get there, but you got there. So
Yeah.
congratulations on that. So COVID question, we're all dealing with this new normal nowadays. That's if if it strikes the average person as much more difficult to deal with life in general nowadays, a person with substance use disorders got to be struggling a lot more. So can you talk more about what you've done to cope in these troublesome times?
Yeah, I keep stressing kind of the hobby thing, but um, it took such a long time for me to train my mind into the positive thinking, that paradigm shift that I was talking about earlier. And I could totally see how it could be tough, especially those first couple months when we were all isolated, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and we couldn't really go anywhere, and it was really tough for people. And I feel like um, the relapse rate I heard was pretty high with those couple of months, and I
Definitely went up.
over the overdose rate I heard went up too as well.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and you know, I mean, now that we're a little bit more open and things are kind of getting back to normal, um, I don't know if the advice kind of really sticks as much as it would when it first happened, but um, for you gotta I think coping skills is huge. That's number one, whether it's listening to music, playing a video game, whatever it is that you could do to take your mind off of using and make you feel better. You have to learn these coping skills, right? Meditation, yoga, just, anything that you like that um, will benefit you and kind of make you feel better and just take your mind off of whatever the trigger is, right? There's also the thing called urge surfing, right? Where you get a craving and you acknowledge it, you understand that it's there, right? That goes back to the self-awareness, self-insight piece.
Sure.
Acknowledge the craving, understand that it's there, but write it out.
Mm-hmm.
Because guess what? It's a feeling.
It's going to.
Feelings are temporary.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Feelings come and go, right? So you're going to act upon a short-term feeling and potentially cause a domino effect to ruin your life, or are you going to acknowledge it and say, why did I have that feeling? Why did it just come up? What triggered me? And then you can better understand yourself and then not put yourself in that situation or around the thing that triggered you to begin with. And I think that's huge. And I think isolation was a huge trigger for a lot of people. And I think being told to stay in your house and not go out was, people felt like their autonomy was taken away, essentially, right? Their autonomous lifestyle was taken away. And I think it
And all
it
of their
definitely,
supports, right? Because people weren't
the
allowed to attend
resources.
churches, AA meetings, or any of the types of meetings.
Exactly. The support networks weren't functioning. We were at a complete pause for a little while
So
there.
what have you done to stay healthy? I would imagine maybe hit the gym a little bit more. Were you good about
Yeah,
connecting with people via Zoom and virtual
I was
events?
doing a lot of virtual stuff. I think I probably recorded anywhere from 10 to 15 songs within like the first 8 weeks.
That's
Like I
great.
just buried myself, like literally, and kind of my craft, and just kind of um was just rocking and rolling, literally, and it kind of, personally, I'm a little bit of a homebody, so it really didn't bother me too much because
Okay, good.
I'm always in the office right here, whether I'm recording or I'm writing a paper. So I guess you could say I'm an introverted extrovert, right?
Sure.
I go out when I have to go out, but as I get a little bit older and kind of growing about to enter my 30s soon. You know, it just becomes more of just finding things that have wholesome value, and whether it's spending time with somebody you love, or you know, it's when you're in recovery, it's like you can't, going out on a Saturday night doesn't really exist anymore. You know what I mean? Like, you can if you want, if you want to put yourself in that situation and you want to go to a club on a Saturday night. I wouldn't suggest it. I mean,
Mhm.
I wouldn't do that to myself. Um, you know, and that's why, like, with music, it's like, you know, people are like, oh, can you come and do this, blah blah blah. It's like, the only time I'm going to a club is if I'm performing. Like, you're not gonna catch me there hanging out like leisurely. You know
Right.
what I mean? It's
So let's
you know.
talk a little bit more about that specifically. As a person who does not have a substance use disorder, how can I be of a better support to my friends or family members who do have one? Because
I'm sorry,
sometimes
say
I
that one
think
more time.
sometimes I think it's hard for people who haven't suffered with a substance use disorder to really understand, and it's not that they don't have good intentions or want to help, but they don't always know how. So can you talk about maybe examples or things that people have done along the way that have helped you in your recovery, or ways in which people that have treated you that has made you feel
Yeah.
better and not like on the outside or more isolated?
Um, you know, when I was first, you know, attempting to get clean, right? I think what helped me the most was, and it was so simple, but it was, you know, that we learn a lot of our behaviors through other people modeling it, right? Whether it's your parents or someone older in your family, they model things and we pick them up, right?
Mhm.
And I don't know, it was just seeing people in recovery and recovery that had have accumulated long-term amount of years, and just the happiness, and they just seemed so at peace, and the success they were having in life. It was like I envied it. I wanted it. I was like, I want to be that guy. I want to be him so bad. And I would go to these A meetings, and you know, and you'd see the guy with 10, 15 years pulling up in a brand new Mercedes, and it's like he had the beautiful wife and family. It's like owned his own company or three companies, you know, like some of these people, you know, they sublimate that addictive trait um, into positive things. And I think that's huge, is you have to learn how to channel those personality traits into things that are productive. So at home, you know, for people that were isolated, you know, channel that into things that could possibly be beneficial to your life. Whether, you know how many people I know that probably started a business in the last 6 months because they're like, well, I don't know what's going on with my job, so I have to like figure out what I'm going to do, right? So, you know, within times of adversity, I also think that there becomes a lot of opportunity at the same time, which is kind of ironic, right? But yeah, that was a common theme I kept hearing. It's like so many people I talked to, like, oh, just started this company, just started this business, and it's like good for you. Like that is the way to adapt, right? And unfortunately, when in the beginning, when COVID was tough, and the Zoom meetings weren't taking place in AA yet, and I totally could understand why someone would even lapse. For example, someone with 5, 3, 2, 1 years, whatever, clean, I could understand, if they slipped up for a day or two. But you know what? I feel like as long as they were able to get back on track, understand why, identify the factors, and move forward, because this is all life experience, right? And we all learn through our own life experiences, because
Mhm.
your life experience is different than my life experience. So it's like we have to really we can't take those life experiences for granted. And they're unique and they're precious. Even if they weren't great life experiences, there still was a lesson to be learned from that, right? And that
Absolutely.
creates a sense of wisdom,
Mhm.
right? What's the old saying? This smart man makes what is that old saying? a wise man learns from the smart man's mistakes, right? Yeah, wise man learns from the smart man's mistakes. So it's like you gotta do whatever you can to just channel your energy in the positive direction, and that's kind of what I'm going to start to talk about on my blog too. Is just that mindset change. It's really really crucial because I struggled for years with that mindset of, oh, I gotta go through this again. I gotta detox again. And it's just when you, it's a snowball effect, and it'll keep perpetuating itself, right? But until you change the way you approach life, cognitively and emotionally and spiritually, nothing's gonna really change, you know. And that's so important, so important.
Absolutely. You can't keep repeating the same thing and then expect different results, right?
Isn't that the definition of insanity, right?
Yep.
Doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results, right? So it's,
Yeah.
yeah, it's, you know, but there are great success stories of people in recovery.
And you're one
And
of them.
there's a lot more than just, there's some really great ones. And it's, you know, I just wanted to come on today and kind of just give some hope and inspiration for anybody that's and ambiguous or on the fence, right? They don't really, they're in the pre-contemplation stage, or maybe they're in the contemplation stage of change, and they're leaning towards it, but it's like I might have hopefully been able to persuade some people today, you know, and that if I was able to get someone to move into the contemplation stage, that was my goal.
Yes, I'm certain that you've achieved that goal today, there's a couple different crowds we're talking to today, right? So even if it's not the person with the substance use disorder, maybe someone who's supporting someone with a substance use disorder
Right.
has learned a thing or two. So again, thank you so much for being here, and just being so open and willing to chat with us. Part of our mindset behind developing this speaker series was our 5Ks that we had to cancel for the fall were a huge connection piece for people. It was community engagement just as much as it was
Absolutely.
fundraising, and it had the exercise element and everything else. And with us not being able to gather this year, we wanted to still form some sort of connection.
Yeah.
So thank you for connecting with our people
Yeah.
and being so open and honest. And for more information about Nicky Bondz, please visit nickybondz.com or check out his Instagram. For more information about the challenge, you know the website, shatterproofchallenge.org. Nicky, thank you again for being here.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.